I was saying that we've had a fantastic run thus far with our passive fire pe charcha or fire pe chai pe charcha and fire pe charcha. Thanks to Dominic for ably conducting each of these events as as the event chairman, and our sincere thanks to Abhishek Chabra for conducting this just beautifully and asking all the right questions, making the right noises, getting the right kind of expressions out of our participants. They have been very, very valuable. Thank you very much, Abhishek, for the wonderful conduct of this program. And we are, as part of the fifth edition of a discussion on passive fire, we have a lovely, audience with us, as well as a wonderful panel to match that. Thank you, each one of you, for joining. Thank you, audience, for your interest in this very, very important topic. Before I begin, I would be delighted to actually have you all watch a video on the Forum of Critical Utility Services, the acronym of which is FOCUS, of course.
We are delighted to present to you the Forum of Critical Utility Services, the acronym of which is FOCUS. Much as the acronym suggests, the role of the Forum of Critical Utility Services is to bring in focus all that concerns the construction industry. This is not just for India, but for a coordinated construction industry world over. For those of you who may not be aware, this initiative is to prepare and present a platform where all the verticals of the critical utility services of the construction industry forge into one formidable group that will strive in building unity, aid in diffusing misconceptions, and present itself as a platform for discussions amongst these bodies of professionals. Our efforts begin with drawing the strength from the fields of architecture, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, safety, fire, security, illumination, vertical transportation, IBMS and IT, solid waste management, and last but not the least, facility management. Bring them together and forge them into one strong wheel of change to deliver structures that stand in harmony with Mother Nature on planet Earth. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our mission. Only when we come together and share our ideas and aspirations will we find the stumbling blocks. It is here then that when we are together and focused towards one goal, we will jointly be able to understand and address our challenges as one formidable force. And this is our vision. Our invitation to you is open. Come and become a part of FOCUS. It is your contribution and support to FOCUS that will make a difference to the new India that is being created. Let's join and make this the Bharat that we wear. Shining, prosperous, bright, and a true world leader.
So that was a short video which described what we are. To begin the program, I'm delighted to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Meenakshi Vijaykumar, who is Joint Director, Tamil Nadu Fire and Rescue Services. She has several firsts, I think, being first, being at the top, being a leader is not new to her, and in some ways, part of her gene. Dr. Meenakshi Vijaykumar is the first Indian woman fire officer. She has a doctorate in fire and its multifaceted contexts from the Wales University. She's the first woman officer to have led an all-men contingent in the Republic Day Parade in 2004. She's the first woman officer to have been posted in a metropolis. We are absolutely honored that she is part of the Chennai metropolis. She has received the President's Medal for Gallantry Service in 2013 for saving lives. She's also received the President's Medal for Meritorious Service in 2019. She was awarded the Anna Medal from the Tamil Nadu government for dedication and unblemished service in the year 2017. She's the first Indian fire officer to have won medals in the World Firefighters Games. That makes us really proud. And World Police and Fire Games held in South Korea, Australia, USA, and the Indian Fire Service Games held in Nagpur and Lucknow as well. She was felicitated as by the former Chief Minister, Madam Jayalalitha as well. She, as Divisional Fire Officer of North Chennai for 4.5 years and Suburban Chennai for 1.5 years, she's attended more than 400 fire and rescue calls. She took part in the rescue operations during the tsunami, during the I'm sorry, just a minute. Fire and rescue programs in Chennai and other regions. She has trained more than 5 batches of fire officers from all over India. Trained in the special task, equipped for exceptional handling of disasters and tackling special situations, and so on and so forth. What is most interesting is the fact that she is the granddaughter of one of the most highly respected persons, Mr. Kakkan. Mr. Kakkan, who was the Home Minister here, is highly respected, and she is his granddaughter, and also the daughter of Mr. V. Subbayya, who was an IAS. That's Dr. Meenakshi Vijay Kumar for you gentlemen. I now have the honor of introducing our own Dr. C. Velan, who is Vice President and City Head Capitaland. He's also the Vice President of the Forum of Critical Utility Services. Dr. Velan is working as City Head, Chennai Operations, and Pan-India Head for Property Management at Ascenders India, which is now called as Capitaland. He was earlier with Tata Realty Infrastructure Trill as the CEO of Trill's flagship project, the Ramanujam IT City. And I guess when I say that, a lot and much more about his capabilities is expressed in the kind of positions he's held. He's a graduate from Civil and Structural Engineering with a post-graduation in Business Administration, as well as Ecology and Environment. He has a PhD degree in Civil Engineering, and for the research work mainly focused on sustainable design of green buildings. That is Dr. Velan for you gentlemen. Our moderator for the day and for all the programs that we have so far had on passive fire protection, Mr. Abhishek Chabra. He is Vice Chairman Focus for passive fire. He's an engineer and a postgraduate diploma holder in finance. He has been advocating the need for compliance to standards for improved safety and quality across industries for most of the last 2 decades. He has a vast experience of promoting conformity assessment in several industries, including consumer electronics, industrial, renewable, building products, and so on and so forth. He frequently writes articles in magazines, for magazines and publications, And his note on does a large-scale fire propagation test ensure a fire-safe cladding was published in the CTBUH journal. Since the pandemic has hit the world, thankfully we are out of it now with our fingers crossed. He's been regularly delivering free education webinars, increasing awareness about conformity mechanisms for fire safety, passive fire protection. He joined Thomas Bellwright International Consultants in 2013 and has been the driving force behind the expansion of the fire compliance activities into newer markets. We wish Abhishek Chabra all the very best in his endeavors. And thank you very much for being a very active member of Focus and moderating all our programs. Thank you, Abhishek, once again for that. Mr. Namassivayam needs no introduction, but nevertheless, it will be an honor for me to introduce Mr. Namassivayam. He was former District Fire Officer, Tamil Nadu Fire Services, and he was there for over 40 years. And he has expertise in the field of fire and safety. He's currently Managing Director of Rana Fire Diligence Private Limited in Chennai, where he primarily focuses on fire and life safety audits, fire risk assessments, fire consultancy, and emergency planning and assessment. He has been the first responder to major disasters like Ooty landslide, Chennai flash flood, tsunami, Coimbatore bomb blast, not this one, the earlier one, Gujarat earthquake, and so on and so forth. He also works as a guest faculty member for Anna Institute of Management, TNEB, PWD, training institutes, Police Academy, and then the National Fire Service College, Nagpur, and other social and educational institutions. That's Mr. Namassivayam for you. Apart from the fact that he has all these to his credit, Mr. Namassivayam is an excellent speaker and communicates in very, very simple language and gets through his point of view beautifully to the audience. Thank you for joining, Mr. Namassivayam. Mr. R. Balakrishnan, Chairman, Focus Chennai Chapter, Vice President and Head of MEP Design. It will not be too much for me to say that without actually holding the position of the Chairman, Focus Chennai Chapter, Mr. Balakrishnan single-handedly spearheaded the growth of the Chennai chapter as the fastest growing chapter amongst all the Focus chapters across the country. Mr. Balakrishnan, has this to his credit, and we are extremely happy to have him as chairman of Focus Chennai chapter. Mr. Balakrishnan is General Manager and Head MEP Design at EDRC, that is Engineering Design and Research Center of L&T Construction. He has over 34 years of handling various projects in construction sector of commercial buildings. He's been with L&T Construction since Chennai since 25 years and is responsible for design in MEP areas related to buildings and factories. He started with Oro Service, D. Oroville at Pondicherry between 87 and 96. And his expertise in MEP design and at L&T Construction includes electrical, ELV, FEMS, PHE, HVAC, and CFD systems. His milestone projects are an absolute delight to see. Airport hangars at Hale, Dial, Mumbai International Airport, Bangalore International Airport, Kannur International Airport, MRO Nagpur, C-17 hangar Ghaziabad, IT parks such as CTS, TCS, HCL, Ford, Wipro, Motorola. You name almost all the top hospitals in the country have been managed by him. Apollo, Meerut, Jipmar, West Bengal Medical Hospitals, Odisha Medical Hospitals, several malls to his credit, several stadia to his credit, and and even the Nextera Nextera data center in Pune, as well as the Motera Cricket Stadium in Gujarat. Thank you very much, Mr. Balakrishnan. We are in fact honored to have you hold the position of Chennai Chairman of Focus. Thank you very much for your first official participation in Focus program. You're warmly welcomed here, Mr. Balakrishnan. Thank you very much. Mr. A.L. Venkatesh. A.L. Venkatesh name is very popular, and he is from the house of one of the most cherished and respected architectural houses in the country. He's no doubt he's an architect, has a bachelor's from the erstwhile University of Roorkee and a master's in architecture from Iowa. Over 30 years, he has been designing several noteworthy buildings spanning IT campuses, auditoria, sports complexes, and critical to the nation projects. As a director at C.R. Narayan Rao Architects and Engineers. He has now a new innings as a Sutradhar for digital tech in design, shifting his focus into digital delivery and technology at the intersection of the drawing board and site. Digital twins, performance twins are his two new areas of expertise as director of digital delivery at a startup in Bikara. When not at his work, he can be found quizzing or indulging in his interest in the outdoors. If you look at his DP in WhatsApp, you will realize that he's a nature lover and loves to spend far away from the hustle and bustle of the city. And he says that he would like to be far away from a cell phone tower. Teaching is another passion, and he is the visiting faculty at Anna University School of Architecture and BIT Vellore. It is indeed an honor to have you, LV, as part of this discussion on passive fire. Thank you very much, LV, for joining us.
Thanks, Ravi. Thank you.
Mr. Saleh Kumaran. Mr. Saleh Kumaran is a general management expert, a senior level with professional qualification in engineering, finance, banking and law, having 3 decades of expertise in various industries. Now, if you look at the kind of projects that he has done, you will not be surprised that he has all these degrees and achievements to his credit. He received the award from the Prime Minister, from our late Prime Minister Vajpayee ji, for Best Financial Management of Tidal Park, Chennai. Pioneer in precast construction by constructing 700,000 square feet of IT park space in Coimbatore using on-site precast plant in 2008-2009, and as a director and COO of India Land Group. Experience in running various types of industries such as real estate, construction, facility management, manufacturing, etc. Introduced precast concrete technology in Chennai Corporation, Tamil Nadu Housing Board. Mr. Saleh Kumaran, we are indeed honored to have you, and a person of your experience and your qualification. You're probably a wonderful candidate for discussing on this very vital topic that we are going to take up this afternoon. Thank you very much for taking your time, Mr. Saleh Kumaran. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. KP Dominic, I don't think Dominic needs introduction. A person who has been in this industry for 34 years and has been at the forefront of all kinds of achievements that the fire industry, the safety industry, the security industry has seen, has been spearheaded in some way or the other by Dominic. In fact, the word focus was actually coined by Dominic. He was the one who brought up this idea and nurtured it for quite some time. And then we all came together and started the Forum of Critical Utility Services. He's also the founder of the Fire and Security Association of India from 2002. He was chairman marketing and events, which is the forte that he would like to hold very close to himself, because he excels at that. He was for 11 years in that holding that portfolio. He was general secretary for 4 years. He was president as well, and he's been in association with FSAI and the fire FSAI for over 18 years. He also, started Focus. He is our Southern Zone chairman. He started his professional career in 1990. Worked in various positions as country head in Mircom, then worked in Honeywell, Vista, and DATS. His goals are very noble: educate and create mass awareness on fire safety and make safety a way of life. His specialties are marketing, events, business development, and motivational. He's a motivational speaker. There are several times that we've just sat down and asked Dominic to speak and have heard through him. I mean, people who have heard of his life, his experiences in life will find it an eye-opener. Thank you very much, Dominic, for being here today. I know it is not possible to do without your being here. May we have very quickly, before we progress to the program, could we have the sponsors video, please?
No, I think Madam Dr. Meenakshi Madam is sharing her screen. So after she speaks, probably we'll run, and after Dr. Velan, then we'll run the video. So
fantastic, no problem.
Opening,
okay. We should.
Can you request Ravi, Madam, to come on?
Meenakshi Madam, your screen is being viewed by us now. So
just let me give some quick intro.
No, I think we've lost her screen.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea that Mr. Whalen can move forward while this is happening. We have spent about 25 minutes on this.
Yeah. Very quickly, I'll just do that. Respected Joint Director, Tamil Nadu Fire and Rescue Services, the panelists, as well as all the participants of this webinar. Very good evening to everybody. Very quickly, I want to touch it upon few introductory things, so that I'm from the industry of various commercial building developments, industrial park, etc. One thing I have come across is that, of course, even statutory bodies, everybody insists on the active fire protection measures, which is like various measures we put in a building, like hydrants and all sprinklers and various measures. The one area which normally we even though the designers and all those team focus, but in general we miss it out, is that how we manage the passive fire system. In the sense, we do that, you have that, containing the fire within that the zone, or within the floor to floor. All those things are, we have so many materials and all we have introduced in the buildings. But one thing I invariably found actually is that are these particular products proposed by that contractors, or that market, or all those things are all really providing the purpose. Actually, it is taking care of the purpose, is what always coming to us. So what is that, I always believe is that there is a kind of testing and validating of those products, which are very, very critical when you are looking at a kind of developments of high volume or even low volume structures or the buildings. So on that ground, we found that even though we conduct a focus, you have seen the film, I don't want to repeat it again. Focus is working on various areas like project management, fire protection system, and various other areas. In addition to that, this is given more importance. Critically, we have thought, this has to be given more importance. That is why the series of lecture is happening in this particular field. As a developer, as an end user, I personally feel there are various measures and active measures we are introducing in buildings. Even the statutory authorities, everybody comes and supports us in terms of introducing such kind of things. But we are designing or implementing the passive measures. The products what we use or what are the things which are being put in use are all required to be validated. Otherwise, that particular thing will also create a major challenge for the buildings in case of any eventuality. So on that ground, we introduced this particular webinar to debate and deliberate and exchange that knowledge between various professionals in the webinar, so that the attendees, the participants of the conference will be benefited. That's the objective of this webinar. With that introduction, I hand over this back to Ravi for taking it further, or Abhishek to taking it further. Thank you very much, madam, and all the participants, and really appreciate your time, madam, for joining us.
Madam,
over to you, Ravi.
Madam, you're on mute, madam. Madam, you're on mute.
Yeah, it's disaster here. So we're doing some disaster management as we normally do in our department. We always do only proactive things. So there was no voice, and then our screen went off. So it's such a pleasure meeting all of you. Thank you so much, sir, Mr. Ravi Shankar Tandavam. It was half an hour session introducing all of us. You must have been tired introducing all of us. So each one of you, I think I bow my head to each one of you because you are great in your own fields. So there's nothing much I could say about passive firefighting, because we always speak about active firefighting. As fire officers, I've been in this field for about 20 years. And my senior, Mr. Namachivayam, is here. We do firefighting, and we do not have the passive elements which are to be incorporated during the construction, and when we give the PPNOCs to a building which is going to be constructed. We have not touched that point at all. When Mr. Dominic sir said that I have to be the chief guest, so I was just wondering, what I'm going to talk to you all, because you are such experts. But I can give my inputs as to how dumb we are and how we have not understood the importance of the passive firefighting system, which is so very important. Now, this morning I was just watching a channel, and then a building crumbled within about 5 minutes of the fire which burnt the building down. And we just have to think about the building which went up in flames in England because of the cladding. I think the whole structure went on flames. So then what are we trying to say? That is a very developed country, but they didn't have a setback area where a firefighting appliance would go and firefight. So these are the things which you have to question ourselves. What exactly are we doing? We speak in English, and we talk to people who are already selling the products, or who are trying to enlighten us. But we're not having, the persons who are going to use, the ultimate users in the forum. And of course, people like, the firefighters around, because we just do not know about these subjects at all in detail. I was talking to Mr. Abhishek. He was just letting me know as to how important the passive firefighting system is. As important as the active firefighting system. So this is an eye-opener to all of us. And I should thank Mr. Dominic for giving me an opportunity to hear these people who are very good. I have an architect here, and Mr. Whalen spoke so well. And I am waiting to listen to Mr. Abhishek Chabra, because he's very important in this forum now. Since he has been working all along in this particular field, and also talking about passive fire protection systems. To my knowledge, I think the passive fire protection system would be, having fire doors, fire resistant glazing, fireproofing, fire resistant walls and partitions, and fire compartmentation, fire dampers, fire resistant ductwork, fire shutters and curtains, penetration seals for pipes, cables, and other services, occupancy separations, fire protection to structural frame of the building. This is what is my understanding after I went through the passive fire protection methods. You do have a lot of companies selling the paintings, the intumescent coating, and also the fire stopping, where you have certified intumescent coatings and fire rated mastics and downlight covers and fire barriers and collars to fire stop cables. Now, these are all going above my head. So, you have to tell me what they are in simple terms, because, these we don't understand. We just go and, use water and probably foam or DCP to put out the fire. We ourselves, I have been in rescue calls. This is not about only fire. I've been in rescue calls. And we went and stood on the 3rd floor. Actually, the building had, succumbed to the fire. And we were almost dangling on top of the 4th floor. The 3rd floor was on the 2nd floor, and 2 people were stuck inside. We actually saved them after about 4 to 5 hours of hard working. So we're not even talking about fire, but we're talking about rescue. So how the structures withstand the fire load and also water. So I think Mr. Chabra should throw light on this subject as well. It's a very nice thing, but I would like this forum to talk to people who are end users, and not people who already know so much. Mr. Balakishan, Namachwayam sir, and L. Venkatesh sir, Abhishek, who's an expert. So what are we trying to tell them? I think you will have to take the forum to people like I was in a particular place talking to architects and also managers of institutions. So I think you should, Mr. Dominic, take this particular subject to them. It is so very important. I do really feel that when I was thinking about these intumescent coating and all that stuff, we don't do anything. I will just finish whatever I'm talking to you now and show you a video. Then you will understand what is the understanding of passive protection in India. Can we go for the video, please? சில பேர் பண்ற வேலையை பார்த்தா எப்பா நீங்க எல்லாம் இந்த இடத்துல இருக்க வேண்டிய ஆளே கிடையாது அப்பா அப்படின்ற அளவுக்கு தோணும். அப்படிப்பட்ட சில கோக்கும் மாக்கும் பிடிச்சவனுங்க பண்ண வேலையை பத்தி தான் நாம இன்னைக்கு இந்த வீடியோல பார்க்க போறோம். இந்த வீடியோ வேற லெவல் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கா இருக்கும். ஸோ ஸ்கிப் பண்ணாம கடைசி வரைக்கும் பார்த்துட்டு பிடிச்சிருந்தா மறக்காம அதை லைக் பண்ணுங்க, தட்டி விட்டுருங்க. நம்மளுக்கு கையில வச்சிருக்க கட்டிங் மிஷினை வச்சு கல்ல வெட்டணும். ஆனா என்ன பண்றது, கட்டிங் மிஷினோட வயரு சின்னதா போயிடுச்சு. அதனால நம்மால் பண்ண புத்திசாலித்தனம் இருக்கு. என்ன ஒரு புத்திசாலித்தனம், ஆன் பண்ணி ஸ்பீடா சுத்துனதுக்கு அப்புறம் அதை ஆஃப் பண்ணி எடுத்துட்டு வந்து கட் பண்றாரு பாருங்க. ஏன்டா ஒரு ஜங்ஷன் பாக்ஸ் வாங்கி வச்சிருந்தா இந்த மாதிரி அங்கேயும் இங்கேயும் ஓட வேண்டிய தேவை இருக்காதுல்ல. லாக்டவுன் போட்டானுங்க, பல பேர் ஆன்லைன்லயே பாஸ் பண்ணி வேலைக்கு போயிட்டாங்க. அதனால பேசிக் கூட தெரியாம நம்மால் பண்ற வேலையை பாருங்களேன். அவர் அடிக்கி வச்சிருக்க சர்க்கிள் எடுத்து உங்களை மாதிரி எல்லாம் ஆளை வச்சுட்டு வீடு கட்டின மாதிரிதான். இன்னொருத்தர பாத்தீங்களா, செவரு கட்டுற பேர்ல கட்ட தெரியாம மொத்தத்தையும் கட்டி வச்சிருக்கான். இந்த பிளாட்டை பாருங்களேன், இத பிளாட்னு சொல்றதா இல்ல என்ன சொல்றதுன்னு எனக்கே கன்ஃபியூஸா இருக்கு. இந்த டிசைன் பண்ண இன்ஜினியர் எதை நினைச்சுட்டு டிசைன் பண்ணான்னு தெரியல. ஆனா கண்டிப்பா இதை கெட்டவன் படிச்சு பாஸ் பண்ணவனா இருக்க மாட்டான், பேப்பரை சேஸ் பண்ணவனாதான் இருப்பான். படிக்கட்ட கெட்ட சொன்னா இன்ஜினியர் அதை தப்பா புரிஞ்சு போறவன் எப்படிதான் போவான், இத கூட யோசிக்க மாட்டீங்க. ஒரு ஓனர் மேஸ்திரி கிட்ட நான் கொடுக்குற டிசைனை அப்படியே கட்டணும்னு சொல்லியிருக்காரு. அதுக்கு அந்த மேஸ்திரி பக்காவா பண்ணிடலாம் சார் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவர் பண்ண வேலையை பாருங்களேன். ஓனர் கொடுத்த படிக்கட்டோட டிசைன் தான் இது.
இந்த மேஸ்திரி எப்படி கட்டியிருக்காருன்னு பாருங்க. டிசைன்ல இந்த மாதிரியே பண்ணிட்டாருல. யாரு அந்த மேஸ்திரி? எனக்கே அவரை பார்க்கணும் போல இருக்கு. மழை நேரத்துல தெருவுல தண்ணி தேங்கி இருந்தா அதை அப்புறப்படுத்த செலவு அதிகமாகும். அதுக்காக தான் ரோட்ல பாதாள சாக்கடையை உருவாக்கி இருக்காங்க. ஆனா இங்க பாதாள சாக்கடையே சுத்தி மொத்தமா மேடு மாதிரி கட்டி வச்சிருக்காரு. இப்படி கெட்டா பாதாள சாக்கடைக்குள்ள தண்ணி எப்படா போகும்? ஏன்டா இப்படி எங்களை சோதிக்கிறீங்க? என்னங்கடா ரோலரை வச்சு வீட்டுக்கு பெயிண்ட் அடிக்கிற மாதிரி காருக்கு பெயிண்ட் அடிக்கிறீங்க? ஏசி வாங்க காசு இல்லாததுனால கையில கிடைச்ச ஐட்டத்தெல்லாம் வச்சு ஹேண்ட்மேட் ஏசி ஒருத்தர் செஞ்சிருக்காரு. பார்க்கலாம் நல்லாதான் இருக்குது, ஆனா கூலிங் வருமா இல்லையான்றதுதான் தெரியல. சிமெண்ட் மூட்டைய ட்ராலில வச்சுட்டு கூலிங் பாட்டில கையில வச்சிருக்கலாம். அதை விட்டுட்டு ஆப்போசிட்டா பண்ணிருக்காங்க. இந்த மாதிரி ஆளுங்க எல்லாம் வேலைக்கு வச்சா போய் சேர வேண்டியதுதான். காஞ்ச கோபுரம் அப்படின்ற இந்த பில்டிங்கை பத்தி கண்டிப்பா கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீங்க. இதை பார்த்து இன்ஸ்பயர் ஆனவரு இந்தியால வந்தும் அதே மாதிரி பில்டிங்கை கட்ட ஆசைப்பட்டு இருக்காரு. உடனே இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பில்டிங்கை கட்டி அசத்தி இருக்காரு. ரோட்டுக்கு போறதுக்கு அருமையான பாதையை உருவாக்கி இருக்காங்க. ஆனா என்ன பண்றது, பாதை ஒரு பக்கம் இருக்கு, கேட் ஒரு பக்கம் இருக்கு. இங்க பாத்ரூம் எல்லாம் நல்லாதான் கட்டியிருக்காங்க, அதுக்கேத்த மாதிரி படமும் நல்லாதான் வரைஞ்சிருக்கானுங்க. ஆனா ஃபீமேல் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அந்த இடத்துல ஆம்பளை படத்தையும் படத்தையும் வரைஞ்சு வச்சிருக்கானுங்க. பாவம் நம்மால் மேலுக்கும் ஃபீமேலுக்கும் வித்தியாசம் தெரியல போல.
Problem is that most of the audience cannot understand this. We have a lot of non-Tamil speaking audience in the people who have registered.
பெயிண்ட் அடிக்கும் போது குறிப்பிட்ட இடத்துல
ஸ்டாப் பண்ணிடுங்க வீடியோ. அது என்ன கொண்டு வந்து. So it's not about, somebody understanding. It's nothing great. It's about how we actually work. The normal people, they just do not understand actual construction. That is what is happening in India. So the end users are these, people who are given jobs to do. Even our engineers sometimes do that. So the answer would be to be very clear in our subject, and when we know about the proper passive constructions and installations, I think we will be safe. Thank you so very much.
Let me just thank you very much. That's a very, very important aspect of what Focus also wishes to achieve is to train and help in skill development.
Yes.
I'm sure all these people thought they were doing something fantastic, something very ingenious, but unfortunately, well, you can see the results.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would definitely want to listen to Mr. Abhishek Chabra.
Yes. Before Mr. Abhishek starts off, my sincere apologies, Abhishek ji. We have to play the video of our sponsors who have paid for this, evening's program. You have to bear with us for another 3 minutes. That's about it.
Orient Fire Curtains is an Indo-British joint venture operating in India since 2013. Orient Fire Curtains has successfully executed more than 300 projects pan-India basis. This totals to about 3,500 fire curtains till date. Double barrel curtain with overlap for easy access. Basement car park compartmentation. Office compartmentation. Staircase escalator compartmentation with corner support. open kitchen compartmentation without corner support. Staircase escalator compartmentation without corner support.
Thank you, Orient Fire Curtains, for sponsoring the discussion on passive fire protection. Thank you very much. Abhishek ji, it's over to you.
Welcome, Chennai. Thank you very much to everybody for such a lovely, warm welcome and a lovely start to the event. I'm going to jump right in and give a very quick overview, something that Madam has also been asking, and we have lots of people who are listening in, a few hundred registered, and the audience. What is really passive fire protection? And it's three things. It's three things, very helpful for everybody to know, as basic users, as the ones in the video, as well as the experts here, as well as in the audience. We make sure that materials used inside a building retard the growth of fire and retard the initiation of fire. This could be materials which could be on the floor, internal finishing, and even upholstery inside the building. The second, which is most talked about when we talk about passive fire protection, is what comes under compartmentalization. This is the concept of fire protection, that if there is a fire, we choke the fire to death, literally, which means we enclose the fire wherever it is. We bring down the fire curtains, close all the fire doors, make the fire dampers actuate and shut off so that the fire in its room of origin, floor of origin is enclosed. And in order to do this, in order to ensure that passive fire protection functions, the fire doors, the dampers, the fire rated wall systems, automatic door closers, they all need to function correctly. And more often than not, this is less understood because there are only 5 or 10 companies in the whole world selling talk and charcha about it, as compared to thousands of people who make fire doors, who make dampers. So this point is less conveyed, that compartmentation saves many, many, many more lives. It is very critical that compartmentation is done correctly, because if it is done correctly, then all of the firefighting team of Madam Meenakshi or all the fire departments all over the world, they can come and extinguish the fire in that compartment and evacuate the balance building very, very easily. And today's charcha, today's session is to delve one layer deeper into how in the whole world we ensure that the fire doors, all the passive fire installations are manufactured correctly, are purchased correctly, which means no one is telling you this is a fire rated door, but in reality it is not. as well as installed and maintained correctly. And the third aspect of passive fire protection is structural fire safety. The structure does not crumble down. With these three aspects of passive fire protection, I want to quickly share how this is done in the world. And then I'll move around with the panelists to talk about how it is done right now in Tamil Nadu and in India. And we will do a discussion on how these can be improved in the future. In the world over, at the time of plan review, which is usually either municipal bodies' prerogative or the fire department's prerogative, varies from country to country. The passive fire protection is part of what is called the fire and life safety plan. When the building is designed, it is planned what may happen and what should happen in case of a fire. Which areas need compartmentation, for how many hours, using which all materials. Once this plan is approved and signed, is when the contractors are able to tender out RFPs. And when the installations are done correctly, as per the requirements, when they are inspected correctly, that is when again the fire department, before issuing the NOC, has many methods and measures to check the labels of the fire doors, to check the labeling on through penetrations, whether they are sealed off correctly, and several other inspection reports before which they can have the assurance that if there is a fire in that building, the fire department can come quickly right in and save people, save lives, and save property. This is the background, and I'm going to quickly move to my good friend and to become a good friend, Mr. Salai, who is representing the whole community of developers, people who are behind the money, people who have the vision, and they are the ones where the money starts to flow in. Pardon me for being very direct. So Mr. Salai, please share your views on how is it that as a developer, you look at fire protection and how is this passed on? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, friends. Chief Meenakshi, panelists, focus members, and participants. So I'm just being a developer. No, I'll be just giving some brief on behalf of what as a developer I think. Okay. See, fire accident is very big catastrophe, not only for the developer and also for the companies which are being in there. And recovery post fire accident will be a very, very difficult task and involving a lot of money and lot of profit. So when we design a building, we embed the fire protection in the design, taking the advice of architects and particularly fire consultants, and follow the NBC. Whatever is given in the National Building Code, we follow it, which was very relaxed before, and it has been tightened recently with a lot of norms. And there are many active fire components embedded in the building. The design like fire alarm, fire protection system, hydrant, sprinklers, and all that. And there are some passive components which are embedded traditionally also, like preventing spread of vertical fire vertically by doing fire seal within slab and facade gaps and fire dampers, and also in shafts. And wherever the metals are used, there we use fire paints for printing. So these are the things which always happen in the design. But the passive compartmentalization and segregating the fire impact areas has not been fully done in the past developments, particularly because of cost impact. For example, in basements with large floor, for example, if we take our project which we had in Chennai in Coimbatore, one floor plate of basement is between 2.5 to 3 lakh square feet. So there, this compartmentalization using pacifier methods are very, very essential. And I think it is also embedded in the recent fire requirement. But now the developers were able to do because of the cost impact which is involved in doing it. So in India, the main thing is no introducing technology has to come at cheap price, but in India, the, technology comes at high price, and as a developer, no, our ROI doesn't work out to go for it immediately unless it's no compared to that. Okay,
Mr.
so this is
Salai,
the situation. Yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Salai, before I move to Mr. Venkatesh, I must raise a small flag that towards the end of this discussion, I'm going to talk
yes,
about costing and the cost
yes,
impact of fire protection. This is a very,
sure,
very
sure.
interesting topic. And here
Yeah,
in the United Arab Emirates, the fire department has undertaken 3 studies to realize the actual
okay.
impact of changing
Mm.
and becoming strict in fire protection to enforce these norms is actually very, very tiny as compared to the other expenditures done to create any building infrastructure. But that said, I'm going to move to Mr. Venkatesh. Very simple. I can see Mr. Venkatesh is already ready. He's twiddling his thumbs to talk. So, sir, does an architect have any say in the building codes or standards which are defining the requirements for the contractor to go ahead and build? Are there any requirements that you are aware of, that there are basic laws, norms, the NBC, but as an architect, you have some flexibility saying, hey, for this building, I want these measures to be added. Please share what happens in the state of Tamil Nadu.
So I trust you're able to hear me well. I have
Absolutely.
a reputation for telling stories, so I'll have to tell you a story. And long ago I met an American architect and 2 American architects. The first guy actually irritated me, and he said, "There's a triad: cost, quality, and time." And he said, "Anywhere in the world you get any 2 of the 3 right, it's considered a success." He said, "In India, if you get 1 of them right, it's considered a success." At that time, I was about 27, 28, and it really irritated me. But I didn't have either the amount of work done or the wisdom to challenge him. But about fast forward 20 years later, another American architect came to me and he said, "How do you institute quality in India?" He says, "Do you do better supervision? Do you get good contractors? Do you have, what do you do?" And I said, "Quality has to begin from within. As an architect, I can give you good drawings. And if I give good drawings and establish my quality benchmark there, then I can demand it from everybody else." And he was kind of stunned to hear that. And he said, "This is the first time I've heard someone take responsibility for quality the way you have said it." So with that as the basis, I'll say that you asked me, do you have a role to play in it? And I said, yeah, we are the heroes of it, right? And we are just not like Rajnikant, we are like Kamala Hassan, we do 10 roles, right? So we are there everywhere, active, passive, we sit back, we are actually doing things. And the important thing really is that few years ago, we didn't know what to do because the NBC left too many things open-ended for interpretation. In the new NBC, a lot of things are so well documented that you can actually have a checklist and you keep ticking them off and you can actually have a really fire-safe building. It's very difficult for a designer to come and say this is expensive and that is expensive because that's a must, right? Just like how you say, I let me use M25 concrete because M40 is more costly. That's a no. Like that, if things have to be done, they just have to be done. And to me, the fundamental aspects of establishing fire safety in buildings is that you educate architects, you educate developers, you educate even the government officials and fire department. And the fact today is that there is so much of new development. What you know today is outdated tomorrow. And there are new things coming in literally every day. So you got to be on top of the game to understand it. Now, if you meet an 85-year-old person and that person doesn't know about compartmentalization, that's well understood, because those days there was no compartmentalization. You didn't have fire curtains, right? You didn't have all those things. But today things have changed. And not only things have changed, there's so much of data going around it that my wish actually, Abhishek, and to the other panelists here, is that we should start an India specific data collection so that we have a rich database to frame our rules and our response mechanisms based on that. So like you said, are we responsible? Yes, architects are responsible, and we have a continual role to ensure that fire safety becomes integral to the DNA of construction and design.
Thank you very much, Mr. Venkatesh. Very fantastically, eloquently spoken. I am taking one very important point out of what you said, is that if there is a will, there is a way forward. And there are not one, not a handful, but probably hundreds of projects in India that have been done to an international perfection, and I would say probably even beyond an international perfection, and in what can be called as an Indian budget of things. And this is the crux of what you said, and I'm going to come back to you, sir, once I take everybody's view, because what you have brought out is very valid. And I'm going to flow this forward to Mr. Bala. I have been in L&T in my past, and I know the company is considered as a superstar in so many ways. And I'm going to ask a very simple question to you, sir. And that's about the variation in India. And that's what we are talking of. What is the variation of some of the projects where fire safety is very important and some which is less? So please share some examples of certain projects in India that you have delivered where fire safety was at the top, and how was it delivered? Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody. Good evening to all. Yeah. So before going into where it is delivered, I would like to say a few things about fire compartmentalization. It is not only the passive protection, it is important. It should be an integrated passive fire protection system. That is, if you travel, like all other systems come into play, like the air conditioning, electrical, the firefighting system itself, the sprinklers and other things. When it travels from one compartment to another compartment, it needs to pierce through these compartments. So there is a thing like even a 10 mm hole left for taking these pipes with the speed of smoke at 36 to 128 meters per minute. It can destroy the whole building. So all integrated approach is what is required in making this passive fire protection. And probably we first started with the high-tech city in Hyderabad, which was the first IT building. And of course, when an IT building comes, there are foreigners involved. So that is where NBC was there that time also, but that is when we got into a aspect of NFPA also. So what was missing in NFPA, we could follow from, NBC, we could follow from NFPA and adopt some of the best practices of compartmentalization and all the fire ratings requirements of doors, walls, and etc. Okay, so for the IT park is what we benchmarked. And there was one interesting aspect which you brought about was the fire and life safety plan, which is not made generally for the projects. You see, for a hospital or other buildings, it's not made, but it's a very important aspect to understand a building from a passive fire protection of point. A fire and life safety plan is made. And this we did it first time in the Delhi International Airport project. So if you go for an airport project, because of the space, you cannot do compartmentalization, right? Because as per the code, You will have to do it in basements, 2000 square meter, you have to compartmentalize, or in an occupied space, it is at 3000 square meters. So if you do that, then you'll have to use this fire curtains. And there is also a difference between fire curtains and smoke curtains. That also I'll come to, because some people try to get away with smoke curtains, but that's not the right way to do things if you want to compartmentalize. So these are the aspects, these two things we developed before. So we are well aware of implementing in many projects. So these are the two projects I can name where we implemented this, because if you allow fire to spread between compartments, there's no point of doing the passive fire protection system.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bala. Very, very aptly put. I'm going to draw out, 2-3 points from what you just covered, so many aspects, and, building on from what Mr. Venkatesh said, if there is a will, then there are organizations and people like yourself who have delivered these massive projects. And the key learning that you have is that you need to have an integrated approach for fire safety. And as I was mentioning at the beginning as well, this integrated approach is what begins at the beginning at Mr. Venkatesh's level, where either the architect or a specialist consultant or fire consultant comes up with this big book, which is called the Fire and Life Safety Plan.
Yeah.
It defines and it foresees all scenarios of fire accidents that can happen, and builds in all the measures, whether they are active fire protection or passive fire protection, integrated approach at the beginning, before work is even tendered out. And the passive fire protection is extremely, extremely important aspect of this. So with this understanding, let's move forward and flow towards Mr. Muthi, who is almost the king of this situation, because having been in the chair of the fire department and having seen so many things, whether they are casualties and difficult situations, to now someone who is practicing as a fire consultant, advising people how to navigate all of this and still ensure a fire safe building. I have a quick question to you, maybe a difficult one, but let's see. I would like to know from you, because you have had so much experience, Mr. Muthi, that what are the current tools that are available to the fire department if they want to check passive fire protection? I know they don't do it. Madam was very candid to say that our focus right now is only active fire protection. But then, is it possible under any means or measures that before the NOC is issued, someone from the fire department can ask, show me the fire rated doors proof, or show me the proof that the fire curtain works, or the fire stopping has been done correctly? Over to you, sir.
Good evening to all the panelists and the participants. And it's a very big question and with a big challenge also. I approach this,
you could say no.
I approach this subject into two perspectives. One is of its importance and its implementation part. The importance you have highlighted very well. And one more point that I like to add in this: today's modern buildings are very prone to fire spread. See, if fire happens in a modern building, if it is not contained, if it is not interrupted, then the fire will spread to the entire building within 4 minutes. So if an high-rise building, 4,000 people, 5,000 people are there, then how they can evacuate within 5 minutes or 4 minutes? That is not at all possible. So the very high importance should be relied on this passive fire system, because it contains a fire spread by compartmentation or fire resistance wall or fire door or fire stopping, whatever the case may be. Okay. So, and another thing, this fire passive system rightly helps gives more time to record a safe egress time for an evacuation. And it also reduces the available safe egress time, and because it contains the fire itself. So that is the most important thing that I want to say. And one more important point why this passive fire safety is important, I want to make you understand the participants is, that is a very important point. That is with reference to, specifically with reference to Indian culture. See, there are two things in safety. One is SIL that we call the safety integrity level. What is integrity? It is the reliability and credibility of any performance of any equipment of any system. That is credibility. That is integrity. But what is integrity of this firefighting system that is available or held in the buildings? And one more term that SIL is actually related to the one more term that is called PFD. That is a probability of failure on demand. So I have seen in my experience many fire incidents in many buildings, the firefighting systems are not at all working. So that is the probability of failure is more in case of the NBC gives very clear fire safety and passive fire safety. Then lastly called the evacuation system. As you so this is a system that NBC prescribed. And
I think
the passive system. But yes, sir.
I think there was some network issue as well, but we could hear you, or maybe I couldn't hear you completely. But I understand.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear you now. I would love to know from you, Mr. Muthu. Apologies for probably addressing you wrongly earlier. But Mr. Muthu, I would love to hear from you that what are the tools that may be available with the fire department to do some check or inspection work in case we would like to do that in the future.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can now.
Now tell me, what's your question? Please repeat. I couldn't hear.
So the question is there any tool or measure or means available with the fire department in Chennai?
Okay,
that
good. I got it.
That they can check.
I got it, Abhishek. The only tool with the fire department is issuing of NOC. So that is the first tool. When the planning permits coming to the department, that is the only tool that comes to the fire department to insist the active and passive fire safety systems. Okay. I generally agree with the Meenakshi madam, what she said, they are not much focusing on the passive fire safety system, but in practice, they are insisting the passive system also in terms of open space around the building, refuge area, and the staircases, number of staircases, width of the staircases, and the compartmentation size. All these things they are insisting in the plan, in the NOC point of view as a condition. That is all right. But the thing is this, what I felt difficulty is, see, for measuring the active fire safety system, in case of measuring the light, we have the meter, but what are the instruments? They have, there's no example, we take fire door, they will rely only on the fire door label in the manufacturer rating available. So just like active system, they have instruments even of we can measure the density we can, but in passive system, there is no to your laboratory. So that is a problem. So, and not only that, another important point I consider, I feel is, see, we have enough checklist for the active safety, effectiveness of the.
I think Mr. Muthu's audio is a bit intermittent.
So the audio rombo vittu varudhu sir.
So, but I did get the gist of what Mr. Muthu is saying, and let me repeat that for the audience as well. And I think Mr. Ravi can nod his head if he can hear me right, and I will get the hint. The fact is that yes, in comparison with active fire protection installations, which need maintenance regularly, which can be checked at site. And Mr. Muthu mentioned and gave examples of some of the measures by which it can be checked on site. I would like to share with you all, as well as the audience, before I circle back to the panelists and ask the second and the concluding round of questions, is that unlike active fire protection, which requires sometimes a lot of maintenance, they require active power as well as active water or certain chemicals at times to remain in function. Passive fire protection do not need any of these things. As proof that they are working, there is an excellent tool which is certification and listing, where products have labels. Labels have traceability on active testing and certification directories, which provide an excellent way for people to get the proof which the officer who has to sign the NOC can actually check. So this is my area of expertise. Anybody wanting to understand certification and listing, I can go on talking about this for maybe 5 days. And in order to make sure that I do that correctly, I'm going to move forward to see how this thing can be done. Now I can see that Mr. Salah is not there, and I'm going to bail upon Mr. Velan if he's still around, because I want to circle back and ask one question to everybody else on how we can improve. We have a view of how it is done. Now we want to see how it can improve. So I'm going to ask the developer on one end and the architect and the contractor on the second end. I'm going to ask a simple question on what are the changes that can be done. So 2 questions, sir. I don't know, Mr. Velan, are you still there? And can I ask you a question? Probably Mr. Velan is not around. My question is very simple. Can the architect or the building developer insist for a fire and life safety plan to begin with? And the second question to Mr. Bala in sequence, because you two are best positioned probably to answer the question for what can change, because you have seen the experience, you have seen the integrated approach, you have seen that if there is a will, there is a way. So question to Mr. Venkatesh, that is it possible that a project contractually insists for a fire and life safety plan so that that feeling is enforced from the beginning? And on what kind of projects this change could start happening from next month? Because we are aiming to become a developed country by 2047. We have 25 years to start making buildings which are beyond what is world class. Over to you, sir.
So I think it should have started yesterday and not 2 months from now. And also here's the thing, right? I don't think it's for either, I mean, just assuming neither Mr. Balakrishnan nor me can go to somebody and say, hey, become fire safe. I mean, that the compulsion to do that has to come from within, right? And in a country like India, I mean, you take, I don't know, just take Janakpuri or Dharavi or take Westmambalam in Chennai. It's probably bigger than the population of Lithuania or Latvia or any of those countries. So, you're talking about of insane density. So we need very, very India-specific things where we are able to drop these requirements, and it has to come from within completely, right? I can make a document, but who's going to follow it? The interest and the intelligence to do that has to percolate everywhere, and no one should be allowed to take a short circuit to that. The biggest impediment is that the penalty for not following it is very, very, very low. There's an extremely low bar for for penalty, and anyone can get over it. I mean, that's really the problem with enforcing it. So I think as a country, we need to be a better enforcing country to talk about what you're saying. Having said that, I see that it's going to happen sooner than later, because about 25 years ago, I did my first building management system implementation in the building. And at that time, we were 30 years behind, right? When I did my first thing. But today, I would believe that there are buildings in India which are world class, which other people come and aspire to do what is done in India. I've had projects where people come and say, just follow what has been done here in India, right? And I would say that if you look at green buildings, if you look at building management system, what we do in India is absolutely world class without a doubt. Now, really, the same thing happens with firefighting also. It's just that we need to have a better understanding of it, and that has to come from the owners, which means each person who is staying in a building, who lives in a building, who works in a building, has to take of himself or herself as a stakeholder and say that safety begins with each individual, and insist and have people follow the norms. And the other thing is political, right? I don't know how you're going to penalize people who don't follow it, but really, I think as our buildings become smarter, as we start putting more people in buildings, this is just going to become something by itself. It's just like the mobiles, right? I remember my first mobile cost me 40,000 rupees, and I would hesitate to call somebody, and if anybody calls me inside, I'll cut my call because I didn't want to be paying for somebody calling me. Today, we have the cheapest rates in the world, and mobiles are penetrated to every single corner. And I think that's going to happen to fire compliance also. It's going to happen sooner or later, but I think we guys should be ready, because when it happens, it's going to explode. And
I think this is a classic. It's a classic example, Mr. Venkatesh. I must salute to you for taking this example, because this is the example that I talk to everybody about when people say, and pardon me for pointing fingers, but when anybody says, well, if I need to make my building fire safe, it's going to be so expensive. Well, the fact of the matter is, if in India, we raise the bar 5 notches higher to be the minimum, we as people from India will be the producers of the most economical solutions for fire safety, and we would be exporting it to the whole world. Right. And all we need to do is say, hey, this is not the minimum requirement, this is the minimum requirement. Just move it up 5 notches, 10 notches, and you would see amazing. Everything is going to become economical.
It's ironic because if you go to the Gulf, you'll see that the guys who are implementing the best fire systems are Indians. You go to Europe, you'll find Indians doing it, and it's at home that we don't do it. So it's kind of really sad and ironic.
I want to take your mobile phone example before I move to Mr. Bala. Is that today the whole world is saluting India for being able to put their satellites into space for a price that is peanuts in their eyes. 36 satellites were just shot out last month for a company from the UK, from India.
Or vaccines.
Because sending a satellite is so expensive, right? Yeah. People in India have done it for peanuts. Sorry to use the term, which is probably denigrating it, but it is not. So I seriously feel that this is very, very doable. Fire safety needs to become a priority, and that has to come from within, from ourselves. If Mr. Bala as a contracting company says, if I am taking on a building project, I will give you a fire and life safety plan. And that is the big star on the name of the contractor, which will probably, if not get him a premium price, it will at least help the contractor defend their margins, which we all understand how it works. People want to push everybody, squeeze everybody. Where is the money going if you're squeezing all the money? So I think I would like to, take your view, Mr. Bala, that as a contractor, and I'm going to conclude by coming back to Mr. Muthu. I don't know if he can come back online, but as a contractor, what is the delta change that you may be able to do as a contractor. Yesterday, as Mr. Venkatesh corrected me, saying that don't say next month, say yesterday, because that is the way construction industry talks about. So what is that one change that contracting companies should follow suit from you, saying, yes, this is something that we can do?
Yeah, so that's what we have started this life and safety for our own as a shop drawing requirements and other things. We have started following it for projects internally, at least, to ensure the builder or the owner gets safe buildings. But of course, it comes with a cost if something is not there. So as Venkatesh said, architect Venkatesh said, they should also own it, because we have a policy in our company to all our sites. Even one life lost is not allowed. That's the policy our company thing. I think the same thing the builders or the owners have to have that mentality, which will help the contractor definitely. But we are there to do that, follow it and make sure whatever we deliver is safest in the world. Okay, that's our motto of doing the project. Having said that, this somewhere in the implementation, until in India, what we see as contractors and other things, we get fire NOC for all the buildings, whichever we do. But having said that, it should be put in some document as in the life safety document of NBC or something to have this approach. Just see the condition of hospital fires. We cannot afford to lose patients who are already suffering due to fire, dying due to fire. I mean, that's the tragedy, and that's where we would like to start this immediately from the hospital side. I mean, we see so many incidents happening across the country. I think that's where we need to start. And having one more thing we need to add is passive fire protection is done, but the building design is done for 50 years. There is no methodology right now to check whether the passive fire is still in place after 20 years or 15 years, especially for the structural steel buildings. It gets stressed, happens many things. So there should be a method of checking also the passive fire protection. These are few thoughts.
Valid points.
And one more thing I would like, I know you're looking at the time, but I had many things to say, but
absolutely.
One more thing we should add probably because of products. If we go into a concept of make in India, we are capable of making products as equivalent to US or Europe. We need to get a standard of certification for the products, passive products, like what is available in USA, ASTME 119, Europe it is BSCN 1364, and UK it is BS 476 for the testing of products. We should also have that labeling system in our country. Probably a code can be created for that.
I'm actually very thrilled you brought this up, sir. This is my my soft area. I get excited when somebody talks about this, and I'm going to move to Mr. Muthu after I complete what I'm going to say. But I'm excited and I'm happy to share, Mr. Bala, and you will be happy to hear that there is already a solution for this. What you have asked just now is actually available. So, and Thomas Bellwright, my employer, and our company are the first company in the whole world to have an accreditation, which means from the United Kingdom, the equivalent of India's NABL, United Kingdom Accreditation Services, has accredited us not only to test fire resistance as per 10 Indian standards, which are published by the Bureau of Indian Standards. This is fire-rated doors, fire-rated glazings, fire-rated partition systems, load-bearing, non-load-bearing partition systems, through penetration fire stops. These are Indian standards, and we are internationally accredited, along with ASTM E119, British standard, EN standard. We can do this anyways, but we are the only company in the world to not only do testing, that is simple. We are doing certification and listing. which means just like you see a unique number on the smoke detector saying this is on the directory of FM or UL or any of these companies, we have a certification directory which will list on a fire door label a unique number, and there is proof that a contractor can see, the fire department can see on the directory where this door was manufactured, whether it was manufactured in Pune, in Uttarakhand, in Jammu, in wherever it is manufactured. That traceability information is live. And we are so excited about this offering that we are giving to manufacturers and the industry in India. We are already there. And the moment we have some traction, we have some companies like Mr. Venkatesh and Mr. Bala saying, I need to see this certificate. We will have a facility inside the country which is going to offer this locally at Indian prices, as everybody would like to say. So I'm going to move to, with this good news, I'm going to move to Mr. Muthu, and I'm going to come back to Mr. Venkatesh because he was raising a hand. And Mr. Muthu, one thing, just one thing that can change in the fire department that will drive a change. Maybe a regulation to demand that we need a copy of the fire and life safety document, or maybe a checklist of things to be delivered before the NOC. Can any of these two things be done by the fire department? Do they have the capability to drive this change?
See, I already told you, that the only tool that fire services has is the NOC and fire licensing system. There are two things. For the new projects, they give NOC. For the existing building, they give a license. And so the fire services are more equipped with the active system than the passive system. And there are a lot of checklists available, devices and equipments available to test the active fire safety systems, but it is not a fire safety system. So what can improve the passive fire safety system through the enforcing authority, regulating authority is, and first they must aware of this, they must understand how this can be implemented and what are all the checklists available, what are the tools available, what are the certification system, testing system, what is the commissioning system available right now at the global level. And that must be picturized to them, and they must understand, and they have to form a system and implementation system and active plan for this and action plan for this. Then only it can be step by manner only. And so almost in all Indian states level, I am telling, the more priority is given on the active fire safety system, safety system. It is not because that importance is not known to them. They are very much aware of it, but the system to implement, to make it the professional design, professional planning, professional installation, professional testing and certification, that is not available right now. And it's all comes under the cost basis, cost benefit analysis basis. So these are all the coming subjects here. And so there are problems implementing this passive system in terms of professional design, professional fellow to implement, and professional system to recognize those. They are the recognized contractor, they are the professional contractor, so they have the certified contractor. It's not like nothing like that. And simply, see, even when I was a fire, when I go for inspection, just I see whether the fire door is that is the only instrument I have to test. And what about the fire resistance rating? What is the effectiveness of the compartmentation? So there are so many things are there. So the very important thing, people like you should come forward to help the fire departments to improve the checklist system. First of all, what are all the checklists?
This is music to my ears. This is music to my ears. I am sorry, I am cutting you. But what you have said is so good and is so apt, because Mr. Dominic supported us and he has compiled a list of this checklist. And we gave this list of checklists to the Delhi Fire Services a few months ago. And I think we would love to give this kind of a checklist to the Tamil Nadu Fire Department as well.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Madam Meenakshi is not here to listen to this.
No problem. I think you have a ear, you have her ear towards you, at least. She was interested and she was very keen. I'm going to go quickly to Mr. Venkatesh, who wanted to make a point, and then very quickly, because we need to close the session as well. And we have a few questions which are popping up, and I will I will read through some of these questions now as Mr. Venkatesh conveys what he had in his mind.
I'll be very quick. Somebody like Mr. Balak RBK has the data. Somebody like me has the vision or the interest to do something. Somebody like Mr. Namashivam sir has the other view. So really, what we need is to develop a measurement metrics for this. So that, because one important thing which I need to touch upon is that in fire safety, 2 plus 2 doesn't have to be 4. It could be 8, or sometimes 2 plus 2 could also be 0. I mean, you do two things and they may be kind of negating each other. We need to have tools which help people to actually realize, if you put all these things together, what is the net result of it, right? And that is really important. And I think between the data that Mr. RBK has, and between the dream I have, and with you pushing it, and Ravi eagerly watching the screen, and with Mr. Namashivam's guidance, I'm sure if you can put something like that and then give it to the fire department, that's going to be better than a new rule, because I'm sure Mr. RBK and me don't want to be following one more new regulation. We are getting killed by regulation already.
I think I'm going to integrate all that we said in a very simple way. Very, very simple way. And I can see Ravi already nodding, and he's going to say, Abhishek, you did an excellent job. So I'm taking the credit in advance. If there is a will, this is what Mr. Bala said, that if there is a will, things actually get done. And I think and Mr. Bala also mentioned that we need a fire and life safety plan. Once we did a fire and life safety plan, we realized that we can create an integrated approach, which is the need of the hour. And I feel that Focus can probably take this upon themselves, that we create a very simple 2-page template of what is a fire and life safety plan, and list out 40 things, 30 things, 20 things, 80 things from the experience of Mr. RBK, Mr. Venkatesh, that what a fire safety plan template, what is it that is required? And if we can all mutually agree on this set of information, then we can have an integrated requirement coming from Tamil Nadu Fire Department saying, for every project that you are going to build, I need a document which ticks all of these requirements. And I think this is something which is not very complicated, because Mr. Balakrishnan can ask 2 of his team members, hey, pick up that document that we did for maybe the Delhi airport or something, delete everything which is of the project, just keep the headers, and let's create a document out of that and let us circulate it among the experts. We did 5 events, Passive Fire Pe Charcha. We have 25 to 30 experts like ourselves. These 30 people will take at the max 30 days. They will be forced to review this document and saying, let us create this document, and we will give this to the 6 fire departments that we have talked to. Mr. Dominic, sir, is this a good plan? Can we do this?
No, that is the ultimate the learning of this series. Then when we conclude in Kerala, we need to come out with certain white paper, document, the recommendation after our experience talking to experts. So I summarize the whole thing, and not only we have to give it to the National Building Board and all the fire department, because fire subject is a state subject. And if state can implement, they become a role model, for their own particular state. So it is important that we need to sum up with everybody's comment and circulate among them. Then that's the focus achievement. That is what we are trying to make building resilient building. Now, how do you achieve a resilient building? So if a building, I keep saying, if when there's an earthquake or when there's a fire, if hospital can crumble down, then where will you go? You need to have a structure that will stand even if tsunami or earthquake. So even if the fire should not spread. You have a data center should not be get affected. So whether are we protecting this entire surrounding of data? So it's very important that how do we measure this pacifier system? What are the methodology adopted to check authentication? So that's what you are in that business. So I'm sure Venkatesh and all of us are auditing, checking, and to a certain extent, we as an individual also can enforce certain things. So we should do it. We should sum up and submit this document.
Because we have to take a few questions. We are going ahead of time. We have gone ahead of time. I just want to say a brief thing that the next event is in Cochin, in Kerala. I am in the Gulf. The Gulf is ruled by people from Kerala without being very polite. So by the time it is next week, in order to make the rulers of this whole region happy, we have to produce this document by the next event, Dominic, so that we can launch it in the state of the kings. Just joking, just kidding. I don't want to be thrown out of this country. Over to you, Raviji.
I think you should take the question.
Abhishek, why don't you take the questions and
Okay. Let me take a few questions, and if there is anybody else who wants to add a few questions, they can do it. I'm going to start with what Mr. Sarvanan D has asked, saying that fire curtains required power supply, battery, sensor, and should not have any obstruction to activate it completely. So how it can be considered as passive fire protection? It should come under active. This is a trick question to me. I am not somebody who will define whether it is an active or a passive, but Mr. Sarvanan, I want to answer this question to my limited knowledge. Just like fire dampers activate and seal off and shut off the HVAC ducts when there is a fire situation, they are also considered as passive fire protection only because they are able to create a compartmentalization. And that is the trigger of why a fire curtain is also considered under passive fire protection. But I agree with your question, and I agree with the intent that it is probably a hybrid system, because it does take some things to activate itself. So I hope that answers. I'm going to move to Dr. S.P. Anchuri. Many times, the main cause of fire is seen due to an electric short circuit. How compartmentation or passive fire measures work, mainly in basements and electrical rooms, where smoke starts and spreads to the upper floors, which kills more than the fire, specifically in glass buildings and closed facades. While I will let Mr. Muthu also think about it if he wants to add to my answer. But I would like to give my view, my limited understanding of this. Various building codes set in specific requirement for these kinds of occupancies. The requirements for electrical rooms, the compartmentation requirements, means and measures for basements, for specific building types is defined, as well as whatever inside a building is occupied, the compartmentation requirements ensure that the smoke and the fire does not enter into those compartments. And hence, there is ample amount of code as well as compliance requirements which are published in many building codes, which ensure that compartmentation is maintained. But Mr. Muthu, if you would like to add something to this, or anybody else, maybe Mr. Venkat.
You are right. You have said the right point. The purpose of compartmentation is to contain the fire at the origin itself. And compartmentation does not mean mere fire resistance wall. It includes the fire sealing of holes and plumbing holes and electrical wire holes, all these things. Then only the fire can be contained there itself. Fire and smoke, flame, everything can be contained there itself. That is the purpose of compartmentation. This is the second layer. First layer is you have to keep your active system very well so that that can quench the fire, direct the fire immediately. So that this is the see, we have a different layers of safety, and see we have to follow those things.
Perfect. There is Mangesh who wants to know what is the evacuation time for any type of building. Is it written in the NBC? Now, I'm not quite an expert, but I'm guessing one of the panelists would have an answer that the NBC defines evacuation time.
I will answer it. See, NBC does not define evacuation time. Okay, first of all, evacuation time depends upon the height of the building, number of people occupied there, type of people there, whether ambulant people, non-ambulant people, and future mothers. So there are aged people, children, and in case of hospital, and in case of different occupancies. So there are people, different types of people are there. So, and their practice for evacuation, all this counts for evacuation time. And in addition to that, the evacuation facility like staircases, protected staircases, adequate staircases, blocked or unlocked staircase. So like those things are there. So there is no specific standard time for evacuation. It depends upon the type of people, height of the building, a type of practice, and facilities available. And so it all depends upon the number only. So it may count from half an hour to even 1.5 hours, even 2 hours also it can count.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muthu. I'm going to read 2 questions in succession, which seem similar, and maybe you can answer these questions as well. These questions are again by Dr. Anchuri and Magesh. The question is that almost all medium-sized 4-storied commercial buildings like jewelry or clothing outlets have 0 window-to-wall ratio, no entry or exit at upper floors. How any measures work in such buildings and how the fire clearances are given when they are death traps? A similar question by Magesh is that, is there a detailed guideline in the fire NOC which describe product that goes into a project that complies with respective specification in Indian standards? So is there some review? I remember Madam telling me that the municipal body has set out some requirements at plan review. So there must be alliance between the National Building Code and the plan review that is done.
Sir, it is a typical question. It's a 4-floor. You see, if it is high-rise buildings, then there's the rules and set of system approach is different. But if it's a 4-story buildings, that may not come for the fire department at all. And it is so there are different systems are there. But the question is if the certification is different from making facilities available in the building. So as a owner, as a user, we must ensure with the consultant available, what are the facilities or safety measures should be available in the building so that the occupants can be safe. That should be the approach. The fire certificate is an instrument to indicate that some systems are there. So that's all. And that too only on the point of inspection only. After that, then see that the case may differ from state to state and time to time. So please don't rely upon the fire certificate. They issued on a certain conditions and the date of inspection based on the status. But please rely on your own understanding, make your own facilities to keep your buildings safe, whether it's high-rise building or low-rise building. That's left to you.
I would just add one more thing, just to clarify. Anything above 15 meters height, whether it's 3-storied, 4-storied is irrespective. Above 15 meters height is called a high-rise building. And that goes through all the authorities, CMDA and the fire authorities. Less than that, the CMDA approval has to be there, but what they specify, they look at the NBC. What are the type of buildings, type of construction you want to go? Based on that, the passive fire protection is done. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Namashivayam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One more thing that I want to add with you. You are right to say that 15 meters as per National Building Code of India. That's right. But National Building Code of India is not interpreted, implemented equally in all states. For example, it's a 24 meters high-rise building. In Tamil Nadu, it is a 18.3 high-rise building. In Hyderabad, it is 19 meters high-rise building. So it's state they make the difference. So they have their state law. The safety becomes a state subject. They make their own law accordingly. They interpret accordingly. They apply the NBC rules. So it differs state to state.
Yeah, but in the NBC, it's clearly defined. Above 15, it is high-rise building. So that's the point. We should make it uniform. Looks like.
Correct. See, that's why I'm telling the NBC. There is already, as you spoke about the lifetime plan for this template you are created. Already there. The NBC gives a template for this. Only thing, the state takes its own way of applying it. So we have to, as a building owner, as a user, we have to take the spirit, the letter and spirit in the NBC. We have to implement it irrespective of whether it's high-rise building or not. So we should have the attitude of whether the NBC prescribes sprinkler or not, whether our building needs it or not. That's the way we have to go.
That I agree. I think definitely everybody should do that.
Well, I'm very glad that such an event is happening with the courtesy of Focus. I'm very glad that each panelist has taken out time from their busy schedules, from their work lives today to invest this time to building our country, which will be fire safe, to evolve better regulations, better awareness, just something that everybody talked about. I'm going to take one last point, which Fawaz has asked a question, and I'm going to answer that question, that what are the steps being taken to monitor every building or project that is there? And this is such an open-ended question, Fawaz. Unfortunately, India as a country is a big country, and a very valid point that Mr. Muthu and Mr. Bala showcased right now is that while the National Building Code, the NFPA codes are excellent baseline documents, each state and each jurisdiction, sometimes within the state also, can have different requirements and may not always follow the NBC. It is as simple as whether you mentioned, as Mr. Muthu mentioned, that a 4-story building does not even come under purview of the fire department when it comes to NOC. And I think conversations like this one, events like this one, which is attended by such a large number of people across the country, by the way, is already promulgating awareness, is asking valid questions. It is like someone saying, my mobile phone has this feature. Did you know about it? And people say, oh, wow, this is such a powerful feature I want to use. And exactly in that same sense, do you know a fire can happen like this? And do you know these are the questions you can ask to your developer when you're buying your next office, next home, or renting a place? So I am very, very happy to be part of such a powerful, erudite panel, people who are so experienced, 30, 40 years of experience. The whole panel put together is over 100, 150 years of experience. I can see Ravi saying 400 years of experience. I think probably that's a bit too much, but it's okay. Indians love to exaggerate, and we can do that. So I'll pass that to you, Ravi, back to you. We've had a great session, and I leave it to you to help us close today's session.
Thank you very much, Abhishek. I think the conduct of the program, the interest that we see from the participants in terms of the questions that we are receiving is proof that people are waiting for answers, waiting for several questions to be answered. And all that I can say is at Focus, we will do our best to try and bring such programs. We've had these, online events, we will come up with more events which will be on a physical basis, where we could meet, we could discuss, and we look forward to such programs and discussion and exchange of ideas. I personally would like to once again thank Architect Venkatesh, Mr. Namachivayam. I don't need to thank Mr. Balakrishna because he is the chairperson of the Chennai chapter, but nevertheless, thank you for taking the time, Mr. Balakrishna. Dominic, thank you very much. Dr. Whelan, thanks to your presence. And Madam Meenakshi, though we could not have her for a longer period of time, I'm sure when the discussion recording of this event will be sent to her, she will find a lot of things that will be of immense value to her as well. Thank you once again, participants, for the interest that you have shown. Thank you. Our president is also one of the participants. And thank you, President Suresh, for participating and giving us this much needed support that you have always extended to us. Thank you all. And with this, we will close the event. Good evening to all of you.
Thank you, Ravi. I would like to want to thank our supporting organization, that is Thomas Bell Wright and CAO and Fire Safe India Foundation, and also our sponsor, Warren Fire Curtain, Harman, and AAS Glass. It's called Pyrobel. So I want to thank all these supporting organization and the sponsors for this. And we will come back again during on 25th of November for the Kerala edition, which he says we should get entire Asian, the entire Middle East, Malayalis, and all over the country. People are, I think there are a lot of many fire experts in the fire industry. There are a lot of Malayalis. We should try and get them, everybody, into this discussion. Thank you very much, Ravi. Wonderful for hosting. I wanted to thank, I think you came at the last moment. I requested you are willing to come anytime and anywhere. So once again, look forward to see you all again. Thank you. We'll share this video to all of you.
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.